How bankruptcies work for businesses in Toronto and Vaughan, Ontario, Canada. How bankruptcies work for businesses. Introduction. Recently I have written several blogs focusing on insolvency and specifically the topics of consumer proposal and personal bankruptcy. To round out the discussion, this Brandon's blog discusses how bankruptcies work for businesses in Canada. To be clear, the goal for either personal bankruptcy or corporate bankruptcy is to avoid bankruptcy. We have many tools in our toolbox to help people and companies avoid bankruptcy through restructuring. It is only when the person has stewed over their personal or business problems for too long that they come to us when it is too late. When it is too late, our hands are tied for creative problem solving. How bankruptcies work for businesses, where we start. When a business owner comes to our office for a free consultation, we start with some basics. The first thing we do is ask certain questions that will allow us to get a financial snapshot of the business. We need to know about the assets and liabilities of the business. We need to understand who all the creditors are and what the assets are. Which creditors may have a deemed trust claim or a secured claim against the assets. What is the total and nature of the unsecured debts? That information tells us what choices we may have in helping the business recover. Is an informal debt settlement restructuring possible? What do we think about the likelihood of a formal restructuring under either the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, RSC, 1985, C, B3, BIA, or the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, RSC, 1985, C, C36, CCAA, or is the business too far gone and therefore bankruptcy or just shutting down are the only options remaining? How bankruptcies work for businesses, the proprietorship. If the business is unincorporated, then the person is carrying on their business in the form of a proprietorship. They are conducting business in their personal name. They may use a business style, but the legal reality of a proprietorship is that the individual, in their personal capacity, is carrying on business. So, the assets and liabilities that are created in the business, is owned by and is the responsibility of the person. So, in this situation, it will be a personal insolvency discussion. The available remedies will be an informal restructuring, consumer, proposal debt settlement plan, or personal bankruptcy. If you wish to find out more about personal insolvency, or how bankruptcies work for individuals, you can read some of my previous blogs. Good examples are what is the difference between Bankruptcy and Insolvency Canada or Canadian Debt Solutions, avoiding the bankruptcy process might be the right thing. How bankruptcies work for businesses, incorporated businesses. So now we have gone through the starting point I just described and we have determined that we are dealing with an incorporated business. We first focus on many different issues before even discussing how bankruptcies work for companies. First, we want to know how well does management understand its own business problems. If management does not have a good handle on their business problems, then they first need to get that deep understanding. They may know that monthly, when looking at the numbers, they see that losses are continuing. Management, especially in an entrepreneurial or family-owned company, may feel ashamed because they don't feel like they've made good decisions. Or they are aggravated and embarrassed because family members have been telling you the company is finished. If you know in your heart that if you do not do something today, you may be risking the entire business. How bankruptcies work for businesses, know your numbers. To restructure companies for a successful turnaround, you first need to know your numbers and what they mean. The goal is to have the company producing sufficient cash levels and for everyone in the business to be earning a fair market-based income. Management must look at the entire business and ask, where's the profit? Do we have the money to actually run and scale the business? What is getting in the way for the business to charge the revenue its products or services are worth? What cash and people resources will we need for a turnaround? Are there lines of business or locations that need to be shed to increase profitability? What expenses can we cut without harming our core business? What contracts do we need to eliminate in order to return to profitability and growth? Do we have the proper reporting systems to provide us with the information we need to get timely and accurate information? Can we properly analyze the business issues and take the necessary corrective action? Do we have the right people to carry on the business while implementing the turnaround? Are we experienced enough to implement our own turnaround or do we need outside professionals to help us with it? Are there impediments to having a successful informal restructuring or do we need to look at a formal restructuring process? These are the main questions that first must be answered for any business experiencing financial difficulties and facing insolvency. This is especially true for more complex companies. New systems or techniques may need to be implemented. If management can answer these questions for themselves, we want to hear those answers. If not, then a financial advisor may need to be retained. My firm has been regularly retained, either by a company or its lender, to answer these questions and provide our recommendations. This kind of assignment is called a business viability review. After we provide our recommendations, we then work with the company to help them decide if they can implement the recommendations and strategies themselves, or if they need our help to do so. If management can do it on their own, many times the lender will want us to stay involved by monitoring the company's progress and reporting back to both the company and the lender. How bankruptcies work for businesses. What if informal restructuring isn't possible? The objective is always to avoid bankruptcy, but it's practical to recognize what it is and when it could be suitable. Companies are complex organisms. There may be the need to shed unprofitable contracts or long-term agreements that are just too expensive to continue with. It may be that disposing of such onerous contracts, leases or agreements is crucial to have a viable ongoing business. Many times a formal restructuring process is necessary to legally